So the first lesson of Chapter 8 is where you're going to be adding and subtracting polynomials. The first thing we're going to practice is finding the degree and writing a polynomial in standard form. First, you might be wondering, what is a polynomial? A polynomial is where you have several terms, like you have here in A or you have here in B, that might also have exponents on them. So they're separated with the pluses and minus signs just so you can see what the terms are. So we're going to practice writing it in standard form, which means you're going to put your terms in order so that the exponents decrease from left to right. So in other words, we always want the biggest exponent first and then they get smaller after that. So if you look at letter A, here I have an exponent of 1 on the x and an exponent of 3. I would want to rewrite it so that the 3 came first since it's bigger than 1. So my first answer for standard form would be, I would write it as 4x cubed plus 3x, and that would be for standard form. Then I would also want to answer what the degree is. The degree is always your highest exponent. So my highest exponent would be 3, so my degree is 3. Now pause the video and see if you can do letter B. So on letter B, if I put it in standard form, the first one I would want to write is the 7x cubed because it has the highest exponent. My second term would be 5x squared because it's the next biggest. Then I would write plus 4x and then minus 1. My degree would be the highest exponent, which if it's in standard form it should be the first one, so my degree would be 3. Now we're going to practice adding and subtracting polynomials. So first thing is we're going to practice adding. So I have two formats that I'm going to show you here. The first one is where you can write it vertically. So when they give you two polynomials to add, you always add their like terms, just like we have in the past. So I can only add x cubes with x cubes, x squareds with x squareds, etc. So if you wanted to write it vertically, you would combine or line up your like terms. So I would just write the top polynomial first, and then I would write the bottom polynomial underneath there, but making sure that my exponents are matching. So I have no exponents, which is why the 6 is under the 5. I have x to the first, which matches, and then I have x squareds. If you prefer putting in your ones in front of those variables that are missing their coefficient, you're welcome to do that. So then you just combine your like terms. So then I would add negative 5 and 6, which is positive 1, add my x's, which is positive 2x, and then add those so it's 3x squared. A common error is that students want to combine these exponents. Exponents will always stay the same whenever you're adding the two together. So now I want to show you a different format. Maybe you prefer just combining them just like they are wrote. So if that's the case, you're just going to combine your like terms going straight across. So in this problem, I would add my x squared, so negative 4 plus 6 would be 2x squared. Add my x's, so negative 2x and positive 2x would be 0x, so I wouldn't write that. And then add my constants, so 5 and negative 11 would end up being negative 6. Now I want you to pause the video and do C and D. So you can decide whichever format you would like. So if you would rather do vertical, then do that. If you want to do horizontal, that's fine too. So whatever way, you should get the same answer. So on letter C, you should have 5x cubed plus 5x squared minus 5x plus 14. Now just in case you remember, if you have this minus sign here and you wrote it as a plus negative, that is the same thing. So you can write it as a plus negative or a minus sign. For letter D, you should have 3x squared plus 5x minus 5. So notice that on C that you only had 1x cubed, so there was nothing to combine it with. So you want to make sure that you're only adding your like terms. Okay, next practice is where you're going to subtract those polynomials, and you can do a similar format again. So if you would rather do it vertically, you can line up your polynomials with their like terms. So on this first one, I'm showing you how I wrote the top polynomial up above, and then I wrote the bottom polynomial underneath and just combined, showing you their like terms. Now one piece when you are subtracting, this minus sign out in front of here really means I'm adding the opposite. So I would encourage you to go through and add the opposite to each one, which means I'm going to make that a plus sign and then change each sign on each term. So this 3 becomes negative, that -5 became positive, and this +3 became negative. The reason I suggest that is because sometimes students forget that they are subtracting by the time they get all the way to the end, and then their signs get mixed up. So then if you combine your like terms, now it's just an addition problem, so you would get -1x squared plus 4x minus 7. You can also do it horizontally, which means that instead of formatting it vertically, you just keep it like it is and then go through and change your signs on that second problem. So this minus sign became a plus, then I changed each sign on each term. Then I just combine my like terms. So I combine the x to the fourth, so it becomes 21x to the fourth. Combine my x squareds, which ends up canceling out to 0. Combine my x's, so it becomes -13x. And then combine my constants, so I get -20. Pause the video now and try C and D. So after practicing, on letter C, the correct answer would be 5x squared minus 14x plus 12, because I went through and changed my signs, so check to make sure you have correct signs. And then on letter D, you should have -9x to the fourth plus 4x cubed minus 3x squared minus 20. Again, if you have questions on adding or subtracting polynomials, or just finding what the standard form or degree is, please let Mr. Gahan or I know so that we may help you at this time. Otherwise, you may go ahead and start on your assignment.